Hello, Grace 242, Pastor Bill here. I could not be more excited about the news that I have to give to all of you today. And that is that the elders have given the green light to transition our house churches to this varied format of some remaining in virtual, but some of us meeting in someone's home in person on Sunday, June 21st. So Sunday, June 21st will be our first Sunday in our transition format where some of us remain in virtual house churches, but also some of us can finally meet in person for house church in somebody's home. Now this prompts a redrafting of the house churches. This next step of the house churches will prompt a little bit of a shuffling. Now, the sad part is I know how many of you have told me that you love your house church and as much as possible would love to remain in it. And that just makes my heart sing because it tells me that we've met our relational goal with the house churches. And so know that we are going to try to keep the house churches intact as much as possible, but because some of us want to remain in virtual and some of us want to go to an in-person house church, there is going to need to be some reshuffling. So that's the sad part in all this. The exciting thing is some of us can see one another in person, but the sad thing is we have to do some reshuffling with the house churches, and we will do our best to try to keep those house churches intact as much as possible. I love hearing you all tell me how much you've loved getting to know the people in your house church, and to me that makes me say, yes, we've met our goals for house churches. Now, another question that many of you have in all this is, what if someone from our congregation were to contract COVID-19? We are going to remain committed to Sunday, June 21st being the first day of our transition format, regardless of if someone in our congregation were to come down with COVID-19. Now, furthermore, if there is an in-person house church meeting and someone within that in-person house church were to test positive, then that in-person house church would immediately flip over to virtual for the next 2 Sundays so that the family could quarantine and do all that stuff, and the house church is protected for the next 2 weeks. And so that's how we're approaching people contracting COVID-19 going forward. Now, the last thing I want to say is I am just so excited about these house churches, and you continue to tell me how much of a blessing they have been to you. And I just want to brag about Grace 242 for a second, if I can do that. I know many churches have been faced with this question of reopening and what they do, and I'm seeing a lot of traffic patterns and signs and gloves and temperature checks before you enter the building, and they're separating chairs out so that people can be separate from one another, and they're going to multiple services so that there's less people in a service, and I just want to say that I could not be happier that we have avoided all that through this house church model. I have loved hearing how much you've gotten to know your house church, how much you love your house church. It shows that despite the separation, we've been able to maintain that relational core value that we have here at Grace 242, and it just makes my heart sing. Now, there are more details surrounding this transition, and so I want to encourage you to read the letter that I've written giving a few more details about this transition. You'll find that letter probably below in the details of this video on the Grace 242 Facebook page, and most likely in your email as well. And so I want you to check on that letter and make sure you read it, as it includes more details. I just am really proud of us as a church. I am so thankful for all of you and your willingness to just go through this transition and kind of be willing to abide the elders as they reassess every 2 weeks. I want to thank you all for abiding the reshuffling that's going to have to happen as part of the house churches. But I could not be prouder of us as a church. It really fills me up as your pastor. And I look forward to a day when we can all see one another again. But at least in the interim, I'm excited about some of us getting to see each other in person again. Love you, Grace 242.